Okay. Hello. Uh, 23 January. Welcome to Dis and Dat. I think I was spending more time doing our thing on preparing the thing on the night train to Munich and forgot about what to do for Dis and Dat. More on the transformation problem. So it's an article from the 90s on a different reading of Marx's text. The transformation of values into prices of production. Yes, I know that not exactly riveting, I suppose, but the relationship between prices and values is the ultimate problem. One that has been a lot of ink has got spilled on this. So a particular article by Alejandro Ramos Martinez is sort of a one step in that direction. And it is a continuing issue for idiots like me. The purpose of this article is to propose a systematic reading of the transformation procedure illustrated by Marx in the first example of Chapter 9, the third volume of Capital, with an effort to convey the non dualistic vision he has of the economy. The article shows that Marx's text on the transformation have a radically different meaning than that attributed to them by Borkowitz and other authors, and establishes the soundness of Marx's conclusions. Moreover, the passages where Marx tests the validity of his results are carefully examined. To do this, we follow an observation made by Marx himself, which has been completely neglected in the subsequent literature. The signs seem the same, but the words were different. Quote by E.L. Bennett. Throughout the 20th century, the transformation problem has been interpreted by Marx's critics as well as his defenders almost exclusively on the basis of the Ricardian approach established in 1906 to 7 by Borkowitz. The principal feature of this view is the methodological dualism established in the determination of values and prices. According to Borkowitz, the procedure employed by Marx for the transformation of values into prices is erroneous, since it fails to keep separate rigorously enough the two principles of value and price calculation. This separation involves the idea that prices are dependent variables that must be derived from values. This approach, which will be called dualistic here, ensues from a misunderstanding of Marx's dialectical analysis, where the twofold nature of economic categories is always conceived of as a unity of opposites. Dualism misses such unity and replaces it with a cause and effect relationship wherein the poles of the categories are exclusively presented as separate realms. In the case of the the price value relationship, the dualistic approach was first clearly proposed, though set out inversely by Tugen-Baranowski. Based on Tugend's vision, Borkowitz obtains his own well-known result. Not be permissible to equate total price with total value, whilst simultaneously equating total profit with total surplus value. Now, once Paul Sweezy gave the stamp of academic authority to this approach in 1942, it was developed by Winternitz and Seaton. In the 1970s, the debate intensified significantly because of Samuelson's article of 1971 and Steedman's Sraffian reading of 1977. Paul Samuelson, of course, and Ian Steedman. These writers vigorously raised some of the issues established at the beginning of the century. The debate then involved many authors, such as Morishima, Baumel, Yaffe, Gerstein, and Schick. Soon after, Duminil, Foley, and Lippiads proposed the so-called new solution, this entire literature on the new solution. These authors essentially maintain the methodological dualism of the orthodox vision, but consider that the transformation should be solved by only taking into account the net product. However, there's another group of authors that has begun to re-examine the methodological terms by which the debate has become crystallized. With different frameworks, the contributions by Wolf, Roberts, and Kalari, Carcetti, Roberts, Kleiman, and McClone, Giussani, Freeman, and other writers have begun to break down the dualistic approach to the transformation. This is the whole value controversy, folks. And that is a slightly different point of view. This point of view, however, is fully overwhelmed by the orthodox vision, whose influence is almost absolute. One of the strengths of the dualistic vision is that a superficial reading of the draft left by Marx might mislead the interpreter towards finding what is apparently textual support of the traditional interpretation. One supporting element is that in the first numerical example presented by Marx in order to illustrate his procedure in Chapter 9, Capital Volume 3, the figures corresponding to the cost price elements remain unchanged after the transformation is conceptually accomplished. The second supporting factor encompasses a group of passages where Marx discusses whether the deviation of the prices of input from their values affects his conclusions. On this basis, Borkowitz established the two leitmotifs of the debate. First, Marx had left the transformation conceptually unfinished, and second, Marx had been conscious of this flaw but considered it unimportant. In support of this assertion, the above-mentioned text began being cited. Now, actually, these points were first made in one of these texts quoted by Komorzinski, who is a veritable missing link between Baumgartner and Borkowitz. The purpose of this chapter is to read systematically the procedure developed by Marx in Chapter 9 of Capital Volume 3 in light of the above-mentioned methodological reworking of the transformation problem. A thorough reading of the text will show that the alleged evidence has a completely different meaning in relation to the interpretation put forth by Borkowitz. In the first section, the thesis maintained by Marx will be followed. In the second section, an interpretation of the methodological meaning of the transformation in Marx's presentation is advanced. In the third section, the main critiques of Marx's procedure will be traced. In the fourth and fifth section, I don't know if we're going to get that far. A method of carrying out the transformation will be presented, which, in contrast with the conventional methods, tries to emphasize the Marxian conception of the relationship between value and its form. By that time, we'll all be ready to watch a movie. The conceptual transition achieved by Marx in the second and third tables of Chapter 9, Capital Volume 3, is the initial step of this procedure, whose complete development will corroborate the soundness of Marx's conclusions. The last section will carefully examine the passages where Marx tests the validity of his results. To clarify his reasoning, we will follow an observation made by Marx himself in one of these texts where he refers to a method used in Capital Volume 1 and Volume 2. Thanks to this remark, completely neglected by subsequent literature, his text can be read with a new and different meaning. Moreover, it will be shown that the passage quoted by Duminil of 1980 does not support his interpretation of the transformation. So, and we probably won't get to this, and I'll have to stop, and then we'll come back to this at some bright and shining moment, perhaps tomorrow. Or we'll do something else, as usual. Value and 1.2, value and price in Marx. The terms of the transformation problem were presented by Marx in Capital 1. The masses of value and of surplus value produced by different capitals, that is, the value of labor power being given and its degree of exploitation being equal, vary directly if the amounts of the variable components of these capitals, i.e., the parts which have been turned into living labor power. Now, this law clearly contradicts all experience based on immediate appearances, so that everyone knows that a cotton spinner who, if we consider the percentage of the whole of his applied capital, employs much constant capital and very little variable capital, does not, on account of this, pocket less profit or surplus value than a baker who sets in motion relatively much variable capital and little constant capital. For the solution of this apparent contradiction, many intermediate terms are still needed. For when commodities are exchanged at prices corresponding to their values, the surplus value appropriated by the different spheres, called profit by Marx, equals the surplus value produced by them. However, their exchange tends to be accomplished in proportions determined by the amounts of capital advanced in production, that is, according to the production prices, rather than the values of commodities. Actually, they're exchanged at their market prices, and production prices are only tendentially imposed in competition between individual capitals. Now, grasping the contradiction with which Marx discusses in the above passage requires comprehending the concept of value, and particularly the relation between value and its form. It is usual to define erroneously value as labor, that is, to reduce value to its substance. Actually, value is a complex concept. Value is the unity of abstract labor, that is, its substance, and money, its form. And thus, it has an immanent or intrinsic measure, that is, socially necessary labor time, and an extrinsic measure, exchange value or price. Marx always refers in capitalist society, labor is realized as social labor under the form of money. Marx always refers to value as a quantity of money because money, as a measure of value, is the necessary form of appearance of the measure of value, which is immanent in commodities, namely labor time. Measuring value in labor time units shows a misunderstanding of the internal necessary connection between the form of value, the substance of value, and the magnitude of value. Therefore, the value of a commodity can only be expressed through a given quantity of another's commodity use value. When the latter is the money commodity, this expression, that is the amount of the use value of the money commodity as measured in units determined by the standard of prices, for an example, an ounce of gold, is called price. Yet the value objectified and the quantity of use value which constitutes the commodity's price may diverge from the value embodied in the commodity itself. Thus, the price of the commodity may express both the magnitude of value of the commodity and the greater or lesser quantity of money for which it be sold under the given circumstances. The possibility, therefore, of a quantitative incongruity between price and magnitude of value, i.e., the possibility that price might diverge from the magnitude of value, is inherent in the price form itself. Through his critique of Ricardo, Marx understood that the incongruity between price and value is not limited to occasional divergences, but rather constitutes one of the key features of capitalist competition. By elucidating the rationale of these divergences, that is, explaining the contradiction between price and value, the analysis of the relationship between value and its form brought to a more concrete level, and at the same time, the presentation of how the law of value acts through competition is made more complex. Marx deals with this issue in many passages and presents its solution in tabular form on 5 occasions, 2 of which are in Chapter 9, Capital Volume 3. Since Komarzinski and Borkowitz, the literature has been considered the first example of this chapter, where Marx presents a numerical example with 5 spheres of production developed in 3 consecutive tables. I'm not sure whether I'm going to drag you through this completely, and you may have to do this simply on your own reading. In the first table, each sphere advances a global capital of 100, which is completely consumed in production so that the value produced by each sphere can be broken down into capital advanced and surplus value. In the second table, all the spheres advance the same capital of 100, but a fraction of it is not consumed. In this case, the value produced by each sphere is broken down into the consumed fraction of the capital advanced cost price and the surplus value. In both tables, Marx assumes that the rate of surplus value is the same in all spheres at 100%, but their organic composition is different. Now, this implies with the same advanced capital of 100, each sphere exploits a different quantity of living labor and thus produces a different amount of surplus value. Second Marx's second table is laid out as in table 3.1. And yes, I know this is going to make you crazy, but the point he's making here is that there is some variation in these spheres of capital. Cost price varies. Surplus value also changes, value changes, and hence rate of profit is different. Table 3.1, it's important to note that Marx does not say what is the unit of measure of these magnitudes. Now, this is one reason why many authors, once the transformation debate began, measure value in labor units and not money. Now, actually, the unit of measure can only be money because, as Marx states on many occasions, money as a measure of value is the necessary form of appearance of the measure of value, which is immanent in commodities, namely labor time. Now, this is confirmed, for instance, in passages of the Grundrisse, Theories of Surplus Value, in Marx's letter to Engels, dated August 2nd of 1862, where he also explains the transformation of values into prices of production. In these examples, all value magnitudes are expressed in money, pounds. The omission of units of measurement in the corresponding text of Capital, Volume 3, only shows the provisional and unfinished character of the draft published by Engels. Remember, Volumes 2 and 3 are posthumously, reconstructed by Engels. So this has Engels, sort of spin on it. What does the sixth column of Table 3.1 represent? The money prices at which the commodities would exchange if they were exchanged according to their values. Sixth column. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the values. Therefore, this column simultaneously depicts the value and the price of the product of each sphere, while the fifth column simultaneously represents the surplus value produced by each sphere and the profit or surplus value that they have appropriated. Now, given the different organic compositions of the five spheres, this assumption would imply that the profit rate of the various spheres, calculated as the ratio between their profit and their invested capital and shown in the seventh column, diverge from each other. However, in actual fact, ignoring inessential accidental circumstances that cancel each other out, no such variation in the average rate of profit exists between different branches of industry, and it could not exist without abolishing the entire system of capitalist production. Instead of calculating the value price vector presented in column 6, it's possible to calculate another price vector which distributes the surplus value produced between all spheres in proportion to the invested capital. That is a vector of prices of production. Now, this is going to get down to some math, or at least algebra. And to do this, necessary to calculate the general rate of profit, pi, as the ratio between the mass of surplus value, SV, by the society, and the total capital advance constant C plus variable V capital, pi equals A SVC plus VEA. And I know this is just going to lose everybody. Let's try and get just to the meaning. You can go back and deal with this as you might. I know other people will not want to consider this at all. The price of production of each branch is broken down into cost, price, and average profit, which is calculated as a proportion pi of the total capital invested, not only the consumed capital or gross price. The migration of capital across the different spheres of the economy in search of a higher profit rate tends to equalize the sectoral rates of profit. As a result, prices on average tend to correspond to production prices, determined by the amount of capital necessary to produce the commodities rather than to their values, determined by the amount of labor necessary to produce them. So, in other words, and this is the issue of the difference between macro and micro. It is oversimplifying in trying to estimate these kinds of things, because on the one hand, you want to find averages in order to get to the question of price. On the other hand, they become confused by the system, by just the fact that things are moving or are turning over. The difference between value and price implies that the surplus value appropriated through exchange among the various branches, that is profit, no longer coincides with the surplus value produced by each of them. This is that whole point here, is that whether we can use profit as a proxy in some ways in order to get to the question of surplus value. And the fact is, I think that you're looking at different, sectors of the same thing, this larger process, and you're just looking at one hemisphere, let's say, of the sphere. Those branches that exploit relatively more labor sell their commodities at a price lower than their value and thus pocket a profit lower than the surplus value that they have extracted. The reverse occurs in the spheres that mobilize relatively less living labor. However, taking all the spheres together, the divergences of price and value cancel each other out when surplus value is distributed evenly to this same extent that one section of commodities is sold above its value and another is sold below it. Therefore, if a commodity is sold above or below its value, there takes place a change in the distribution of surplus value between different capitalists. If commodities are sold at their prices of production, how does value determine these prices? It's clear that, however much the price of production of an individual commodity may diverge from its value, it is determined by the value of the total product of the social capital. The fact that value constitutes a determinant means that it is a quantitative limit established by total product. Prices of production merely represent a redistribution of this produced quantity of value. Hence, determination is not a cause and effect relationship. So these are the main features of Marx's solution to the apparent contradiction between value and its form, which he points out in the Capital Volume 1 passage quoted at the beginning of this section. Value results from the objectification of socially necessary labor. Price ensues from the distribution of the surplus value among the various branches of production. As well known, Marx's solution implies that the sum of values equals the sum of prices of production, and at the same time, the sum of surplus value equals that of profits. Now, this conclusion was later to be criticized by Tugin, Baranowski, Borkowitz, and many others. Yet, before considering these critiques, it is convenient to discuss the methodological meaning of the transformation, and specifically the transition accomplished between the second and the third tables of Chapter 9, Capital Volume 3. So what is the methodological meaning of the transformation? The dualistic approach to the transformation considers that before Capital Volume 3, Marx has exclusively dealt with the value calculation as completely separate from any price expression. This interpretation involves the belief that values are a system separate from prices and even expressed in a different unit of measure, that is, labor time. According to Maurice Dobbs, the transformation problem is essentially whether or not the prices of production are deducible from values as determined by quantities of embodied labor. Emphasis added. It is commonly asserted that a set of equations can be used to express the value of each output as the amount of labor used directly and indirectly. These values are entirely determined by technological relationships and entirely independent of pricing. Now, Baumel's conclusion is actually a useful and interesting one, and also you can argue, well, yeah, Baumel wasn't a Marxist, blah 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 blah. It has been generally supposed that the relationship between Marx's tables is one of causation, where the third, that is the price system, the third table, belonging to the price system belonging to circulation is derived from the second, the value system, entirely independent of pricing. The defenders of this approach attempt to be faithful to Ricardo's and Marx's critiques of Smith's circular adding up of concept of value. Nevertheless, when Marx says that value comes first or is prior to the price of production, he means that the value is the form in which social labor is objectified and price is the form in which it is appropriated. This does not mean, however, that value is a causal factor determined before prices. And a lot of ink got spilled over this. One complementary version of the dualistic interpretation is based on Rodolsky, and Rostolsky is, one of the kind of key ways in which you interpret, sort of post-war stuff. According to this author in Capital Volume 1 and 2, Marx considers capital in general and completely abstracts from the multiplicity of capitals, competition, and prices, elements that are allegedly taken into account. It gets fixed in Capital Volume 3. However, neither Rostolsky nor his followers, that is Fred Mosley, have been successful in demonstrating how the operation of the law of value can be accomplished outside of competition. That is, outside the concrete process where the prices are formed. Now, underlying this, of course, is whether this obtains when you move to socialism. But anyway, or socialistic competition. Competition is an inherent element not only of the concept of capital, but also of the concept of capital. If competition and prices are regarded, what is Marx's abstraction before setting out Capital Volume 3? Marx specifically abstracts from the fact that the existence of a general rate of profit prima facie contradicts the determination of value by labor time. That is, the contradiction between values and prices as presented in the passage of Capital Volume 1, Chapter 11, cited at the beginning of the first part of this chapter. In this text, Marx summarizes his critique of Ricardo and states that many intermediate terms are still needed to grapple with this opposition between essence and appearance. Only when the transformation of labor power into wages and the transformation of surplus value into profit have been explained. So, in other words, there's a series of turnovers. The idea of turnover time can affect, well, we could argue that it does affect it or not. Only when the transformation of labor power into wages and the transformation of surplus value into profit have been explained can this contradiction be properly resolved. Beforehand, it's necessary to abstract from this issue and correlatively to assume that prices equal values. Yet this assumption by no means signifies that value is a substance lacking form, that is, that commodities have no price. Therefore, from the beginning, Marx has taken competition into account, but under conditions that imply that the vector of values coincides with that of prices, that is, prices equal values. That is, competition is considered as a formal but existing process. Having developed the required categories, Marx works out his second table, that is table 3.1, where surplus value is transformed into profit, maintaining the preceding assumption that prices equals values, and considering the heterogeneity of capital compositions. This table, wherein commodities have value and price, does not represent a system of values entirely independent of pricing, as the dualistic approach claims. When the heterogeneity of capital compositions is taken into account, the result is the emergence of different rates of profit, an outcome that contradicts the imminent tendency towards a general rate of profit. These are the terms of the contradiction, abstracted from until Capital Volume 3 that Marx seeks to resolve. To do this, he accepts that prices do not equal values and correspondingly introduces the category of price of production. Therefore, from now onwards, prices are not equal to value, but they are equal to production prices, as seen. And this is how the third table, that is table 3.2, is worked out. Marx resolves the contradiction by showing that there is a permanent divergence between values and prices, which produces a transfer of surplus value among the spheres. That is, this difference is what creates movement of surplus. That is, the surplus value is not sort of static in that particular context. The consideration of competition previously taken into account only formally becomes a real element of the presentation. This is, one of these kinds of assumptions where you assume, well, let's not think about competition, but in fact, competition is always occurring. That's why you would always have, even at the agricultural level, you would have sort of sub-markets of exchange, right? It's kind of the basis by which, well, anyway, that's a whole nother story. Yet this step in the construction of the concrete totality of the capitalist reproduction means that, in contrast to Capital Volume 1 and 2, the law of value is negated as the norm of exchange between individual commodities, and that value and its form no longer coincide directly. In particular, a divergence between the intrinsic measure of value, that is labor time, and its extrinsic measure, that is value in exchange, arises. And this is sort of the whole point of the value problem that we see that reemerges even in the conversation between Heinrich and Moseley. In his third table, Marx shows, however, that this contradiction of the law of value is produced at the level of individual capitals, but is superseded at the level of the totality of capitalist circulation. This is the meaning of the global annulment of the divergences between prices and values. It means that the individual differences between value and price, that is, the negation of the law of value as the norm of individual exchange, is the concrete form through which value becomes the expression of social labor. Therefore, it is clear that production prices are mere transformed forms of value, and that, considering the totality, they're only fractions of value, specifically the forms under which value has been appropriated. There is another sense according to which the principle of construction of the second table is preserved in the third table. In the second table, Marx presents commodity values as formed by the price paid for the elements of cost price and by the surplus value. This calculation principle has been kept in the third table, but here the prices of the elements of cost price are equal to its respective prices of production, whereas in the second table, they're equal to their values. The transformation of values into prices of production is therefore a dialectical transition in the presentation of the operation of the law of value and of the relation between value and its form. The simple form of the law of value, that is, values equal prices, is negated at individual level by the equalization of the rate of profit, that is, where values do not equal the prices of production. But this is only the manner in which it is imposed on the totality, that is, where sum of values equals sum of prices. In this way, the law of value becomes a complex category, and the relation between value and its form actually presents the feature of quantitative incongruity, which is inherent in its development as price form. Thus, Marx's equalities are unities of opposites, which express the two contradictory aspects of one process. More specifically, the contradictory unity of production and distribution. This is, why you have Department 1 and Department 2. Marx elucidates the rationale of this contradiction in a series of mediations, not completely developed in the first section of Capital Volume 1. This transition is expressed in the relation between the two main tables of Chapter 9 Capital Volume 3. The third table negates and simultaneously preserves the criterion of construction of the second table. That is, the third table contradictorily contains the second. And God, yes, there's a lot of whatever. So the author is trying to sort of mash together that and saying that Tugendbaranowski and Borkowitz read this transition erroneously, believing that each table represents a quote unquote world completely apart from the other. In particular, they think that the third table is derived mechanically from the second, without perceiving that the latter is integrated in the former. Now, if the latter is integrated in the former, already we've looked at a cycle here, right? We've seen a circuit. So, and I know I'm going to lose a lot of folks, and I'm going to stop here in a second. But the whole point here is to suggest that there still are other ways of approaching the problem, and these general assumptions that are necessary in order to get kind of one level of explanation done need to be re-examined, because some conclusions are made only because some things are held, quote unquote, more constant. So that's kind of the point we're trying to get to here. Let me skip to the conclusion. And yes, there are more tables. And yes, this thing goes on forever. And will make your head hurt, or at least your hair hurt, by the time we get to all of these numbers. Let me see if we can get down here to the conclusion, and then I will stop. When Marx presents the results of the transformation process, he considers the social capital and shows that the divergences between surplus values and profits are canceled out. Since the difference between values and prices is only the difference between surplus value and profit, this cancellation implies that the divergences between values and prices are canceled out for social capital. And by that time, we're on to table 3.7. Marx faces the fact that all commodities, including those consumed as inputs, are exchanged at prices diverging from their values. Accordingly, the value crystallized in the elements of the cost price diverges from the respective value price of production. The problem raised by Marx is whether these divergences are canceled out in the economy as a whole, thus causing the total sum of production prices to be identical to the sum of values. So to go deeply back to our original metaphoric example, well, it's not so metaphoric, actually. It's quite empirical. When the linen producers purchase flax in order to consume it in their production processes, they pay for the flax at its price of production, which generally does not coincide with its value. Is this divergence between the price of production of the flax and its value offset by other divergences with the opposite sign? That is, or instead, is it added to the other divergences? In other words, if the prices of production of all inputs are put on one side and the values on the other, are all divergences reciprocally canceled out? Now, Marx answers affirmatively. When too much surplus value goes into one commodity, too little goes into another. Now, after a lot of algebra and numbers, we need to get the point. There's stuff that's not complete, and there's always the capability of stuff that goes wrong. So let me conclude with the conclusion, if I haven't already lost you. In the numerical examples which Marx drafted to illustrate the transformation of values into prices of production, the sum of surplus values equals the sum of profits, and the sum of values equals the sum of prices. In the wake of Tugan, Baranowski, and Borkowitz, virtually all other authors writing on the transformation agree that this result only arises in Marx's tables in Volume 3 because the transformation has not been concluded. The inputs are exchanged at their values and not at their production prices. Now, there's several dualistic attempts to correct the transformation, either through simultaneous equation systems such as Borkowitz's, Winternitz's, and Seaton's, or through iterative approaches such as Shibata's 1933, Brody's 1970, and Shaik's 1977. All of these attempts have reached the same conclusion insofar as Marx is corrected. That is, his double equality is invalid. Since the conclusion has important implications for Marx's entire theoretical framework, the subsequent debate has involved many authors and has been the longest ever in the history of economic thought. However, all these attempts to correct the transformation are grounded on an understanding of value which differs from Marx's. For the usual approach, value is a magnitude determined once and for all in the sphere of production, which is related to price in a purely exterior manner. Marx's transformation problem has been reduced into a Ricardian problem, that is, to find a direct relation between labor, or the sphere of value, as it were, and prices of production, that is, or the sphere of prices. If, on the contrary, the relation between value and its form is considered in dialectical terms, the value and price of the commodities are determined both qualitatively and quantitatively as the result of the same process, namely capitalist competition. From this point of view, the transformation problem is no longer formulated in Ricardian terms. The method used in this chapter, this little work here by Martinez, is to rework Marx's numerical example has sought to express the relation between values and prices. Once the solution is reached, all inputs and outputs are exchanged at their prices of production. And at the same time, the double equality enunciated by Marx holds. After Marx conceptually, although not numerically, concluded the transformation, he tested in a group of passages which have been repeatedly quoted, often out of context. A thorough reading of these texts has shown that Marx proved his methodology to be right. In this chapter, this work by Martinez, a numerical illustration of Marx's text of dissolution has shown the soundness of this theoretical proposal and conclusions. So, with all due respect to the whole thing about value that has gone several decades, well, actually more than several decades, the point is that Marx wasn't wrong, um, but all of these interpretations have all kinds of useful elements built into it. But you have to go back to sort of the original idea here, and that's what Martinez is sort of doing, is saying, it wasn't really wrong. It's just that once you start sort of building these assumptions, you can go down as it were, a wrong path. And it is these wrong paths that is very typical of academia, is that, people are going to bludgeon these things to reasonable conclusions. I think the line of inquiry sought by the sort of diverging group of scholars was and is useful, and it is a debate that is still worth having, because ultimately it spells out, the larger methodological framework and its math that is at the current sort of state of affairs, and which is ultimately and not cumbersome, but becomes cumbersome when you begin to sort of, start over emphasizing questions about labor, et cetera. So I'm going to stop right there, noting that there will probably be very few questions about all this yammering. Um, and yes, it is Transformations on a Night Train to Munich. We're going to start my original plan was to go through this the regular Dis and Dat, and then start Night Train to Munich, which we're going to start in a couple of minutes. And I'll leave you a moment to sort out your get a cup of coffee before we start the movie. I'll start at the top of the hour. Thank you very much for your attention. And yes, I know this is a little divergence here, but my original plan in my small brain was to go through This and Dat, as I normally do, and then begin with the showing of the movie Night Train to Munich. And I'll, at the top of the hour, at 6 o'clock, I will yammer at about why it's kind of why some critics actually prefer Night Train to Munich over The Lady Vanishes. And without getting into a heavy duty theoretical thing, is the same guys write the two things. And so, and I will comment that it's like, let's see, what's the difference between it's, now I've forgotten the names. I'll go look that up while we're taking a break. Thank you very much for your attention. Boy, was that a slog for everyone, yes? I've worn everyone out. Is Joe still there? We can cut the live stream and then come back to it if you want, relative to Night Train to Munich.
I didn't really understand it. Do you want to go through it again?
Everyone is checking. Everyone checks Marx's math when, in fact, I think he's just, sort of jotting notes down and trying to figure out the math himself.
Well, you fit it a lot in. It's like you didn't breathe in. Like, how are you doing it? It's like one of those trained opera singers who does that circulatory breathing thing as the exhale. I was like, what the hell? Go on, lass.
Yes, Anna. That's kind of where we are. Okay, we're still on live stream. So I don't know if have I been given the. Oh yes, I have been given the power. Is it that we're going to watch the movie on live stream, or we're going to watch it without live stream?
Well, are you allowed to watch the movie while live streaming?
Oh, that's true. Well, let me stop live stream, and then we can make that.
Is it free on? Is it already free on YouTube?
Yes, it is. It's part
Then
of
you
the
should be able to
criteria.
watch it.
Okay. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, yeah.
and I think it's useful to have a minor discussion about this at the beginning. Let me also share if those who haven't seen the link. Let me see if I can get to the.
Yeah, so it's available on there already. It's tickety boo, man.
Let me.
Fair use or something it's called, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, I assume
Tell you
that
what,
since I
oh,
go ahead.
tell you what, I just watched The Apprentice, the Donald Trump movie about Roy Cohn, the one that they're trying
Oh
to get.
God, how is that? Did you?
It's not as good as I thought. The performances are brilliant.
Yes.
I think it's because I'm sort of oversaturated with documentaries about him anyway. So it wasn't that good. But the,
Is
the
Mark
performances were good, definitely.
Mark Strong as Roy Cohn is probably
Yeah,
that should be
he's
interesting. He's such a good actor.
he's a brilliant actor. Him like,
Um,
um, but yeah,
I mean,
it's,
yes, the fact that we have to live through the continuing existence of Trump is, I suppose, part of the problem of looking at any biography of Trump.
I wouldn't be
God,
surprised if either actor, either lead gets the Oscar because they were brilliant. So like I say, you can't fault the performances, but it just wasn't.
did it get nominated?
Apparently, yeah,
Oh, excellent.
yeah.
Because I missed the announcement this morning. There was an announcement. The
I
announcement
only
was at
know because Harvey
5:30 this
Keitel, not Harvey Keitel, Howie Klein mentioned it
morning.
on Twitter.
Outstanding.
Yes.
Well, certainly that will be a you get Trump tweeting during the middle of it, and really historic that Jimmy Kimmel just
It would be so funny.
made
It
Trump
would be
take the
so funny if
piss.
Trump. Be so funny if Trump turned up to accept the Oscar.
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
I'd
yeah.
like to thank me, and me, nobody else. The film's shit, by the way, but I'm a magnificent. I was the best thing in it. It wasn't even me being me. I'm so good. It was another person being me, and I was still the best thing on the fucking screen. You're all gonna die. Sorry. Sorry, David.
We're Jesus. With that, we're at time to show Night Train to Munich, and I've included or what is included on the page here, and I will put the link in the chat. Um, is to in case now I can show this, but if someone else wants to show this who has better bandwidth, because I used to have this problem, and I don't know if we it'll happen again, but it gets jammed up. So in this page is the link, the YouTube link
Hmm. Well,
to
I can show it.
if you want, that would
Hold
be
on, but
great.
then again, can you do that while? Can I do that while
I don't know.
you're sharing, aren't you? Hang on. I don't understand the sharing concept. Would it make any difference if I play it?
I will shut to test that I have to shut off share on this end. Let me do my little yammer here and
Yeah.
um, I'm not going to go at great length because I don't use slides, but the point is that Carol Reed is a good director, but doesn't fit well into the auteur theory of directing, having been more interested in telling each story as well as he could, and in testing his mettle on as many genres as he could attract. This is from the Criterion Collection's notes. As a consequence, film history and criticism haven't treated him as kindly as he deserves. And this is the general problem of looking at these kinds of films. But in the spirit of sort of cahiers de cinema, etc., that I think it's important to think about this. One of the great pleasures for me, this guy writing in Philip Kemp, writing in Criterion, is one of the great pleasures for me in Night Train was the discovery of Rex Harrison. He's such a unique personality, much more English in my experience than, say, Laurence Olivier or Robert Donat, with a great comic flair. I don't remember noticing him again until Anna and the King of Siam, The Ghost and Mrs. Muir, and Unfaithfully Yours, this last a particular delight. That's from Phil Kemp's treatment of it. Um, so, yes, it is a twisting, turning, cloak and dagger delight, combining comedy, romance, and thrills with the greatest of ease. Paced like an out of control locomotive, Night Train takes viewers on a journey from Prague to England to the Swiss Alps as Nazis, those guys, pursue a Czech scientist and his daughter, Margaret Lockwood, who appears also in The Lady Vanishes, who are also being aided by a debonair British undercover agent, played by Rex Harrison. This captivating, long overlooked adventure, which features Paul Heinrich and a clever screenplay by Frank Laugner and Sidney Gilliat, best known for writing Alfred Hitchcock's The Lady Vanishes, is deftly concocted spy game that could give the master of suspense a run for his money. Now, given the film's warm reception in Britain as well as America, it seems strange that it's now so rarely seen. Strauss's review hints at the reason. Written by the same needle-sharp wits that penned The Lady Vanishes, he noted, the film is by all odds the swiftest and most harrowing thriller to come out of England since the Hitchcock work. Most inevitably, since it shares its screenwriters, its leading lady, two of its characters, the comic double act of Charters and Caldecott, played by Basil Radford and Naughton Wayne, and even its subgenre, that is, the espionage train thrillers. I wonder if there's a dissertation on this. I mean, since I've become enamored with these um, train thrillers, and they're a lot more interesting than plane thrillers because simply because
Okay.
it's not just simply the threat of falling out of the sky, but the train is bigger than a plane. Um, Although, and let me make this one aside, and it's just because I like watching trashy movies. There is a film now that is available on cable constantly, as it were, Bullet Train with Brad Pitt. Uh, I just find these things funny. I think they're weird, and they're not unlike the Jackie Chan movies in the sense that you have to do kung fu uh, or fight fu or whatever in in a relatively closed situation in a train car, and I just
Have
find
you,
that that's
have you seen the
hysterical.
Denzel Washington one,
Which one is
where he's a
that?
train driver and the train won't stop?
Oh, I don't
That's
know.
it was very good. What's it called?
The Liam Neeson one with called The Commuter is also quite amusing. It's a little out there. I mean, things happen at the end that you don't really think can really happen with the Metro North, but it.
Lane, was that Pelham 123?
No,
Oh, no,
but
no.
you close.
Oh, is
Hold
that
on a minute.
Pelham 123? Oh, well, I guess it could
Well,
be, right? Oh,
that
yes, Runaway. It's the Runaway Train one with what's his name?
Walter Matthau, right?
Yeah, no. This one is in Pennsylvania. The train gets loose. Yes, Lane is correct. The one with Denzel Washington and what's his name? Scott Pine or Chris Pine. Chris,
Chris
yes,
Pine. Yeah.
Chris Pine.
Captain Kirk.
unstoppable, unstoppable.
Yes, Unstoppable. That's what it's called. It's quite gripping a movie. I kind of like
Really?
that one too.
I
I
thought it'd be
liked
good.
it.
Yeah, I
I
thought it'd be
like
cheesy when I
I
first.
It had plausibility. It had, it was a anyway. Train movies are fun. Let's put it that way.
So, Professor Ann. So,
Yes.
so getting back to this one, the paragraph you just had up. So it's saying that that comedy duo was in both movies.
Yes.
Because I remember them in The Lady Vanishes. They were like the old
Yes.
school English guys that were gonna defend the England, and
Yes.
but I don't remember them in this movie, which I've seen also.
Well, I think they're there.
Okay, I have to look for them. They don't.
doing this.
They must. Yeah, they don't stand out as much in this movie.
Here they are. I think.
Oh, okay. Those, yeah, okay. Those were the guys.
I think it's these two geeks who are obsessed with soccer or football or
Football,
whatever.
yes. Jesus Christ.
See, this is from The Lady Vanishes. You can see the two geeks there, right?
Yes.
So let's see. And so the point of this is that I like doing these paired comparisons. It's no different than the approach to, for example, art history, where you do iconographic comparisons with a split screen. And so Lady Vanishes precedes Night Train to Munich. So you could argue that, yes, they get better. Gilliatt and Launder get better. The charming Margaret Lockwood is charming again. I mean, I've watched Lady Vanishes several times, and it is just fascinating how much goes on in the darn movie. You have that whole beginning where they're stuck in the lodge, and it's noisy and there's stupid stuff, and you begin to think, is this just a comedy about being stuck in a lodge? And then ultimately get on the damn train. So that's also sort of interesting. And then other stuff happens on the train. It gets all wacky. Well, it's not wacky. It's just it gets very convoluted, let's say, and but still entertaining. And then there are other elements. And spoiler alert: there will be a shootout. Anyway, train going through enemy territory. General plot points. And I'm not. There's no spoiler alerts here. Yet the two pictures feel different. Night Train feels more open, expansive. There's certainly fewer scenes actually aboard the train, ironically, in addition to having different plots. I suppose I'm asking the question first to see if anyone here prefers one to the other, despite their similarities, and if so, second, to see which one you prefer. Although as much as I admire The Lady Vanishes, great fun, and one of my mother's favorite movies, I must admit to preferring Night Train. It seems that Gilliatt and Launder refined their skills for the second picture. Let's see. Yes, the film was first planned prior to the outbreak of war in September 1939. Its intended tone was altogether more serious. The working title was Gestapo. Source material: a serialized novel by the Australian-born writer Gordon Wellesley, reported in A Fugitive, set in the fictitious state of Ironia. Iron rather than irony was presumably the reference. According to Gilliatt, not much of the original survives in the film version. He used up Gordon's story in the first 10 minutes and invented the rest. Gordon was very amused because he got an Oscar nomination for Best Original Story. Launder and Gilliatt were then two of Britain's up-and-coming screenwriters, knack for sharp, droll dialogue. And so, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to get onto the movie just in a second. This is sort of the work done during the phony war, that is, before France fell, et cetera, et cetera. And anyway, it begins. The film opens up on September 3rd, 1939. And what happens on September 3rd, 1939? Lots of stuff. More specifically, German submarine U-30 sinks the British passenger ship SS Athenia. 117 people die, among them 28 Americans, sort of echoing the Lusitania from World War I in that sense. Jessica Mitford's sister was a Nazi sympathizer. Unity Mitford. None of this is in the film. This is not spoiler, but she tries to, on that same night, she tries to attempt suicide after Britain declares war on Germany. And the bullet lodged in her brain eventually kills her. almost 10 years later. And then more recently, and this is in the last couple of weeks, is there was a fake Hitler's diary before, and there was hoaxes, etc. But I think that they've dug up actual verifiable Unity Mitford's diaries, and she spends a fair amount of time with Schicklgruber himself. And then the diaries reportedly document 139 encounters between Unity Mitford and Hitler from 1935 to 39, offering an unprecedented view into their relationship. A devoted Nazi sympathizer, Unity Mitford often referred to Hitler as he or him in her writings, suggesting she perceived him as a godlike figure.
Are you sure it
And
wasn't the diaries of Marjorie Taylor Greene?
her fascination with Hitler began in 1933, the year she first saw him in person at a Nuremberg rally attended by 400,000 Nazis. This revelation comes 42 years after the infamous Hitler Diaries hoax, in which counterfeit journals reportedly written by Hitler duped major newspapers. Unlike that debacle, the authenticity of Mitford's diaries has been affirmed by experts, including David Price Jones, leading scholar on Mitford's life, expressed confidence in their genuineness, noting the significant insights they offer into a dark chapter of history. Yes, I think obviously it's become more popular because of the rise of the right in Europe. And of course, Britain declares war on Germany on that date after the invasion of Poland. And of course, we know all that the craziness of that. And then France follows 6 hours later, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, and then I put in a link for films that fit well together. This is a pair of many that sort of fit well together. And where did I will stop now. And just before we watch the movie, how I got here is because I decided to watch because I unfortunately stay up late too often, is to watch what Rachel Maddow says is the one of the best films of the 20th century, Edward G. Robinson in Trapped: Confessions of a Nazi Spy. And it is a fun movie. I mean, it has got propaganda out the wazoo. It's got Nazi propaganda, or I mean, it has Nazi propaganda placed in the context, framed by American propaganda, and it goes all over the place. It's really quite a fun little movie, running around watching the American Bund, American Nazis at work, and and the FBI being relentless. So all of those things. It was during the period where the FBI was more heroic. So anyway. And worth watching. I think it's actually moves that movie is quite interesting. But once I started watching that, it got me to Night Train to Munich ultimately. So without further ado, shall I go ahead and do this, or Lane, do you want to do this?
I can play it so you can.
Okay, please. You have all the links.
So then you can chat. I was going to ask. Will there be
the break room is open and the chat is available. Let me stop share and leave this to Joe. I guess if you want to show it, that's fine with me.
And I got one question for you.
Yes.
Have you done a scene by scene comparison to Terror Express?
Not yet.
Okay. Just an idea.
We should have a train night with, or at least watch the Runaway Train movie with, is it John Voight? Isn't it? I can't remember. There's
John Voight.
Well, there's one that is has influence by Kurosawa, which is really it's really a cool little movie, and compare that to the other one.
Don't forget. Don't forget Silver Streak.
No,
with
do all the comedic ones.
Great role by Patrick McGowan in that one.
Indeed.
Oh,
Hard day's night. Jingles.
We bad. Anyway.
I was gonna ask, will there be goose stepping?
I think there will be actually.
I guess it goes
Anyway,
without saying.
all right. I'll leave it to others, and we'll be in the chat yammering. So thank you very much. Without further ado,
Let me
Night
know
Train
if
to
this,
Munich, 1940.
let me know if the sound is okay.
It's good for me.
Der Anschluss wird jetzt vollzogen. Verlassen Sie es. Heute Druck werden die Wien einmarschieren und zwar sofort. Heute wird das Gräfenland dem Dritten Reiche einverleibt. Wir werden diesen Auswuchs im Lebensraum des deutschen Volkes nicht länger dulden. Diesen bolschewistischen Mörderstaat. Die Tschechoslowakei hat verschwinden. Das deutsche Volk braucht Lebensraum.
Gentlemen, Nazi motorized divisions are already massed on our frontiers. Unless a miracle happens, we shall be invaded. This factory will be one of their first objectives. I have special instructions here from the Minister of the Interior. In no circumstances must Herr Bomash or his GK armor plating be allowed to pass into Nazi hands.
But my work is not yet completed.
The tests that you have made were good enough to show its possibilities.
Isn't that understating it? It is successful to revolutionize defensive warfare.
And it is a revolution that we do not wish to have brought about by the Third Reich.
Then I am to leave the country.
As soon as the Nazi invasion starts, I have your passports for yourself and your daughter. Arrangements have been made for you to carry on your work in another country, where you will be told when the time comes. I have made out lists.
Ours? No. There.
If we resist German protection, Prague will be bombed.
Protection from what?
Give me a direct line to the Ministry of the Interior. At once. What? The minister left 10 minutes ago for the central radio station.
The German command has given the order to march. At this moment, Nazi troops are streaming across our frontiers. In our present defenseless condition, resistance is worse than useless. Citizens of Czechoslovakia, we must bear the trials that lie ahead with fortitude and courage. Be of good heart, and remember, long live Czechoslovakia.
British government give me facilities?
Everything is arranged. You will be met at Croydon. Here are the details. Now, you haven't a minute to lose. The plane leaves the airfield in half an hour, and it will be the last.
But you, Peter?
I must say, Axel,
Your daughter. Is that you, Anna? You have heard? Listen, dear. I don't want to alarm you, but we have to leave the country at once. Go to the airport. I will be waiting for you. Immediately. You understand?
Yes, yes, at once. Where are we going? England? Yes, of course. What's happening, Miss Anna? Martha, I've got to leave at once. Help me put some things in a bag.
Anna Bomash, you are under arrest.
We cannot wait any longer.
Please, another moment. My daughter must leave at once.
The city's occupied already. We must go.
Away!
Stillstand. Lights on. March. Los, Sally, aufschließen. Los, vorwärts. Marsch. Aufschließen. Halt.
Turn right. Edward Klein, for laziness, sentence 12 lashes.
My heart will never stand it here, Doctor.
Fast fit.
I have been under treatment,
Take him
Doctor.
away. Next man.
Karl Maaßen, for insubordination, sentence 20 lashes.
Good for twice the number by the look of him. You will soon learn that it's better to keep your mouth shut than to do as you're told.
Thank you. I've no wish to become a Nazi.
We shall also teach you that insolence does not pay.
With the aid of those pillars of Nazi culture, the whip and the jackboot.
Silence!
I shall say what I like! You hate the truth. Because in the end it will destroy you and your bankrupt philosophy. You will perish. Because you have nothing to offer. Because you can't forever replace tolerance and decency with the brutal force. Because you...
Stand away from him. Get back to your work.
Better leave me.
Halt! Get along. No talking.
Good Samaritan. I wanted to thank you for yesterday.
A swine.
Don't look at me. We shall be seen.
Why do they send you here?
Oh. I'm a desperate character. I had a little school on the Sudeten border. I was ordered to abolish our language and to teach in German. And then illiterate Nazi group leader
So here I am. And you?
My father escaped to England. I almost went back with him.
Back?
I was at school there. They arrested me to find out where he was hiding. And because I couldn't tell them, that's all.
England. Well, good luck to him. I've been a fool. I should have held my tongue and waited.
We shan't always be here.
No?
Somehow, I'm going to join my father.
How?
Well, we have friends outside.
Yes. But between them and us,
There must be a way.
past searchlights, machine guns, barbed wire. I should take any risk if I thought there was a chance. But there isn't. There isn't one of us who doesn't lie awake.
Keep your mouth shut. You know the order. Get back, I told.
Silence.
What is it? Do you know him?
He studied with me for a job in the Civil Bureau. He might help us.
But isn't he a German?
Yes, from the Sudetenland. When it was occupied by Germany, he was desperate. I gave him the advice. Become a good Nazi Pole. Join the party. And wait.
Then you think that...
Yes. Now there may be a chance.
What's wrong up there? It's fused! It's all right. You should be asleep.
Carl, what's that noise?
That's the Goodwin lightship, miss. They should be in England in an hour or two.
But it'll be light then. You don't mean we're going ashore without any passports in broad daylight?
In broad daylight.
Why not?
I know, keep turning up. What's the idea?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Think you're the Mauritania? I might have had a Lillian Gish on the end of that.
Very sorry indeed.
All right, granted, me old cock. Have you caught anything?
Few eels.
Oh. Perhaps it ain't fish you've been out to catch. Not like me, fishing to keep away from the old woman.
Where do we change?
The beach.
And then London?
Yes. Then I shall go to see a friend of my family. He fled to England last September. He'll help us. He's living at a place called Hampstead. You've heard of it?
Yes. Carl, if you only knew how glad I am to be back here where people can still laugh and be happy.
Come away, Alfie. If you're not falling in something, you're treading in something. Go on.
evening.
Good evening. I should like to see Dr. Fredericks.
Have you an appointment?
No, but if you would give him my name. It is Marson. Karl Marson.
Well, will you come in, please?
Thank you.
Now, if you will take this to Gilby's, the opticians, they're just round the corner. If you mention my name, they will make up your little girl's glasses at a reduced charge.
Thank you, Doctor.
And don't worry. With care, she will grow out of it.
Thank you, Doctor. Good night.
Good night.
There's a gentleman to see you, Doctor, and Mr. Marson.
Marson. Oh, very well. Show him in.
The doctor will see you now.
Thank you.
Good luck. Mr. Marson.
Good evening.
How do you do, Doctor? I was given your name. I'm suffering from an eye strain and should like a test.
Headaches and so forth?
Yes.
If you will be good enough to sit in this chair, please.
Thank you.
Warm this evening, isn't it?
Rather.
I fear there may be a storm brewing. Now, will you read the top line, please?
K, M, S, Q, R, Y.
And now the line underneath.
M, O, 2, 6, 7, 3, G.
I don't think that is quite right. Will you repeat it, please?
M, O, 2, 6, 7, 3, G.
Heil Hitler.
Heil Hitler.
Well?
I have to report that on instructions from Gestapo headquarters, I successfully made contact with the woman Bomash in concentration camp number 4, Reichsprotektorat of Bohemia. I escaped with her as arranged on the 27th of July and came ashore this morning at 11:15 from the freighter Stovendam. We are staying at an apartment house at 124 Paddington Lane, Marylebone.
Good. She has, of course, made no attempt to locate her father.
No, I'm awaiting your instructions.
This is all we know. Bomash is working for the British Admiralty. Well, we have no idea. He is certainly well hidden and well guarded. Therefore, we must move cautiously.
Understood, sir.
So do not appear too eager. Impress upon her that you are aliens and must move carefully. Suggest that she places an advertisement to this effect in the personal column of the London Times, signed perhaps with some nickname which her father will know at once. You will see that that advertisement is repeated daily until it is answered. When that happens, you will report to me instantly. You understand?
Yes, sir.
That is all. Heil Hitler.
Heil Hitler.
I see that fellow Ribbentrop's going to Moscow.
So did Napoleon.
Miss Beaumont, you're wanted on the phone. Nice time of night to ring up, I must say. Who is it? Oh, he didn't say.
Hello? Yes, I'm Anna Bomash. In the Times, yes. Who is it? Yes, I'm alone. Who is it, please?
I can't answer questions. Now, please listen carefully. At the post office in Plain Street, a letter is waiting for you containing a railway ticket. Go to the destination on the ticket, and when you get to the town, ask for a man named Gus Bennett. Have you got the name? Gus Bennett.
Yes, but who do I ask?
Everyone there knows Gus Bennett. You say nothing of this to anyone. That is most important.
Hello? Hello?
Yes?
Anna, may I come in?
Yes, come in.
Carl, I've just heard. Somebody telephoned. We found him.
Where?
I don't know yet.
But what did they say?
Carl, I'd love to tell you, but whoever it was said I wasn't to say a word to anyone. Oh, I don't mean you're just anyone. Of course you're not.
And I would much rather you didn't tell me. We don't know what your father is doing, and it's probably right he should take precautions.
There's no one in the world I'd rather confide in. I don't know what I'd have done if it hadn't been for you.
No. You're happy now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all that matters.
Good night, Carl. I'm looking for Mr. Gus Bennett. I was told I'd find him here.
Oh, he's along here, all right. Can hear a warbling note like an air raid siren. Well, that's him singing.
Over there?
Churns out the same mouldy songs from 9 in the morning. The human barrel organ he is.
Lots in life may be denied, but hearts can laugh when love's inside. For only love can lead the way as time rolls on and on.
The song of the century. When Home Sweet Home and Laurie are forgotten, this song will live on. Now, madam, only the price of a stick of rock. Sixpence, sir, the ballad of the age. Only love can lead the way. Here, buy a copy for the Sergeant Major. Thank you, gentlemen, thank you. Anyone else like to buy a copy of this haunting melody? How's that to be haunted for sixpence, miss?
Mr. Gus Bennett?
In the flesh, and if you want me to autograph it, I'll throw that in.
I'm Anna Beaumarsh.
How'd you do? Don't go away, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to sing again yet.
I was told to come and see you, Mr. Bennett.
Who by?
I don't know.
Is this a gag?
Well, somebody phoned me. They said you'd have news of my father.
Your father? Never heard of him. Somebody's been pulling your leg. Only love can lead the way in tonic so far. We give the tonic, you provide the so far. Thank you, madam. Yeah, don't go away. I'm just going to tear off another number, then we'll have a talk. I'm now going to sing the sentimental song hit of the year. They say it's the hand that rocks the cradle, rules the world. But believe me, it's songs like this that fill it.
It's true. Oh, what it does to me to know it's true. She loves me.
Are you sure it was Gus Bennett, they said?
Yes, I'm certain.
Your father's not in the song business?
No,
Oh, it's beyond me. How did you lose him?
he escaped.
Escaped? You mean he's still at large? I mean, you haven't seen him since?
No. You see, I was in a concentration camp.
Were you really? Where?
Near Prague.
Prague. You here by yourself?
Yes.
Anyone know you're here?
No.
Would you like another of these?
No, thank you.
Elfie? I don't understand it. It's extraordinary.
Well, then it amounts to this. You don't know my father, you don't know anything about him, and you can't help me.
Is that him?
Father!
Anna!
Here it is. Brightborn, a health resort. But I hardly think that Herr Beaumarsh is there for his health. You notice across the bay is the Dartland Naval Base. The report says he's been there 3 times in the last week.
Well, probably conducting experiments, though.
Precisely. We can't afford to delay a moment longer.
There is another reason for haste. Any day now, Poland may provoke us into invading her in self-defense.
England will not stand by Poland. We have the personal assurance of Herr von Ribbentrop as to that.
So I understand. Nevertheless, instruct Fredericks that we are putting our arrangements in hand at once.
Very good, sir.
You nonchalantly go around completely unaware. It's just another ordinary day. You meet a sweet who sweeps you off your feet.
Your heart skips the beat and runs away. You can't recall a tender thought to show how much you care. You can't think of a single thing to say. you're meek, so meek. You talk but you don't speak. Your heart skips a beat and runs away. It may be Tuesday or Sunday, Thursday or Monday. Love never wants you at all.
Is the coffee ready?
It won't be a minute.
Thank you, dear.
November.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Come to see Father?
No.
Want some?
Thank you.
Where did you get that from?
Post office stopped it.
Why?
I gave them instructions.
What have my private letters to do with you?
Postmark's a dangerous thing.
This letter's to a friend of mine.
British?
No,
Refugee.
I'm not going to be cross-examined.
I must remind you that the government pay me a wage, small but regular, to look after your father.
It's obviously not small enough. You don't suppose I'd write to anybody I couldn't trust? Why, if it wasn't for Carl, I wouldn't be here.
What did you say?
Well, he escaped with me.
But you never told me.
I told my father.
It's not me.
If I didn't, it's simply because Carl is an alien without a passport. He was afraid he might be deported.
Known him long?
No. What are you doing?
Just wanted to check up on him. Have you ever heard of an organized escape?
Organized?
To lead them to your father.
But that's fantastic. Carl doesn't even know where I am.
You sure of that?
Of course, I told no one.
Good. Honestly, I don't want to throw a monkey wrench into the romance.
Thank you. I appreciate that you're inspired by the highest motives, and that you'll go to any lengths to pursue them.
Any lengths.
Even to exhibiting yourself in public as a singer.
Well, nature endowed me with a gift, and I just accepted it, that's all.
It's a pity it didn't endow you with a voice. Nothing that happened to me in that concentration camp was quite as dreadful as listening to you day after day singing those appalling songs.
With those few words, you've knocked the bottom out of my entire existence.
Pity I only knocked it.
Mr. Burmash about?
Yes, he is.
Admiral Baldwin sends his compliments. He'd like Mr. Burmash to have dinner with him this evening.
And his daughter.
I'll tell him. But just a minute. Didn't Admiral Baldwin leave for the Mediterranean last Tuesday?
No, he's aboard the flagship lying off Dartland.
But I understood that...
Isn't he going too far out for Dartland?
Sorry, Fabian. I say, Charles, the wife's just phoned. I understand you're coming over to tea on Sunday.
Yes, I believe.
Well, she wants you to remind Beryl to bring some recipe book, pickling walnuts or something.
Oh, yes, I know.
Oh, hello, Randall. How are you? Hello. Hi.
Just discussing the Beaumarsh affair.
Oh, yes, you slipped up rather badly, hadn't you?
Yes, I was...
Oh, it wasn't exactly his fault. We ought to have known about Karl Marson.
No, the War Office have been stinking about him. They take the view that this armor plating of Beaumarch's will make all the difference to the next war. Probably nothing of the sort, but well, there you are.
And by tonight, Beaumarch will be in Berlin, and they won't lose any time before putting the screws on the poor devil.
Tomorrow night? That means he won't be at the Admiralty until, let's see, Saturday morning.
That's about it. Why?
24, nearly 48 hours.
Why, what you driving at?
Well, they got him out of England. Why shouldn't I get him back?
But that's quite impossible.
Why? I know my way about. I was 3 years in Berlin.
Drinking lager. Vodka now, isn't it? What about the Polish situation? Germany may march at any moment. You know what that means.
I should be back before then. Well, sir?
Well, you know perfectly well I can't give you permission to do it. And the fact that you make the request at all shows you're not yourself. Don't you think so, Gaskin?
Oh, well,
I quite agree with you. Now, I suggest you take a week's sick leave to enable you to get a complete change of air.
Thank you, sir. I understand. I think it might be very good for both of us.
Now, I expect you'd like to have a little chat about it.
Yes, I would, sir.
Charles, you won't forget about that recipe, will you?
No, I'll remember. Now, look here, I don't know what your plans are, but I expect you want a few letters of introduction.
Reichscenter Königs Wusterhausen calling. Early this morning, the Polish hordes attacked Germany. The Führer immediately gave orders to our glorious army to invade Poland and to destroy these intolerable aggressors of peace-loving Germany.
Naval High Command, Herr Mayer.
Hope to reach you.
I'll ring you tonight. I'll be waiting. Good luck.
All identity cards. All identity cards. All identity cards to be shown. All identity cards. All identity cards to be shown.
Identity card? Come on.
I've worked here for 10 years. You Gestapo fellows must want a job.
All right.
This is a fine country to live in.
Hey, what's that?
Nothing.
Name, department.
Schwab, records, intelligence.
Report that man.
Excellent, officer. While we have men like you at home, we have nothing to fear, nothing. Oh, I have a letter of appointment for Commander Kampfeld. Where can I find him?
Second floor, sir. This is a very grave matter. Very grave. It has just been reported to me that you've been heard expressing sentiments hostile to the fatherland.
What, me, sir?
What is it?
Major Herzog to see you. He asked me to give you this.
Can't you see I'm engaged? I warn you, Schwab, such treasonable conduct will lead you to a concentration camp.
But, sir, what did I say?
You were distinctly heard to remark, this is a fine country to live in.
Oh, no, sir. There's some mistake. No, what I said was, this is a fine country to live in.
Huh? You sure?
Yes, sir.
I see. Well, in future, don't make remarks that can be taken two ways. Much wiser not to talk politics at all.
Yes, sir.
You may go.
Heil Hitler.
Heil Hitler. This is a fine country to live in. This is a fine country to live in. This is a bloody awful country to live in.
Shall I show Major Herzog in, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Please. Major Herzog.
Heil Hitler.
Heil Hitler. Sit down, Major.
Thank you.
Sorry to keep you waiting. This is to introduce to you Major Ulrich Herzog of the Corps of Engineers. Major Herzog is in Berlin on an important technical mission for which he requires Admiralty assistance. I am sure, my dear Kampfeld, that you will give him your best cooperation. Heil Hitler, etc., etc., etc. I wish these War Office fellows would learn to write properly. Signature might be anything. Whose is it?
Well, I have no idea. As usual, I was taken from one office to another.
I suppose it couldn't be Sarford's.
Sarford.
Or did he go in the purge?
I can't remember.
I believe he did.
Whoever he was, he spoke very highly of you.
He did? Might be mere fits. Not very likely, though. However, The important thing is, what can I do for you?
I want to refer to certain technical evidence given before the Naval Heavy Armaments 1935 Committee. If you will let me have a report of the copy, Commander.
Certainly. It will take only a moment. I have my own filing system here. A copy of the Naval Heavy Armaments 1935 Committee's report. Have you been in Berlin long, Major?
No. I only left the Siegfried Line last Tuesday.
Really? How is it there? Things are pretty hectic, I expect.
Pumping night and day. I was there in a consultative capacity. Steel fortifications. You possibly have heard.
Oh, yes, Major Herzog, of course. Looks rather like Stuckner. And I believe he is doing diplomatic work in the Balkans.
And who is not?
I'm afraid we haven't a copy of the 1935 report, sir.
What's that?
We had one of 34, but not 35.
Are you sure there was a 35 committee?
I sat on it myself, as I'm a liaison officer.
I beg your pardon. Very well, very well. It's these fellows at the top. They forget to send copies on.
Perhaps the construction department might be able to help.
The very thing. They might have one. I'll ring them at once.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No trouble at all. Commander Prader, I have with me Major Ulrich Herzog of the Corps of Engineers. He is well known for his splendid technical achievements on our west wall, as you're no doubt aware. He will be greatly obliged if you can give him some assistance. You'll see him at once? Thank you, sir.
1935, you said. I guess I could get hold of a copy for you.
Now, Commander Prader, you may be able to help me more directly. You know, I've just left the Siegfried Line.
So Campbell said. How's everything?
The Krupp's armored plating is the trouble. Confidentially, that's why I am in Berlin. Do you realize that the steel used by the Czechs is better than anything we have got?
So I've heard. But surely now that we control the Haska works...
Not enough. We let the only man who counted there slip through our fingers.
Bomash?
Yes, I knew Axel Bomash personally. He was present at the first gunnery test of his GK plating. Incredible results. And where is he, working for Britain? But if we cannot trace this 1935 report...
One moment, Major. You will be surprised to hear that Bomash is no longer in England.
What?
He was brought back to Germany only a few hours ago. In fact, he's in this building now.
But this completely alters my plans. Perhaps you could arrange for me to see Herr Bomash at once.
I'm afraid it's impossible. He's with the controller.
But surely there's no harm in my asking him a few questions.
It's beyond my province, Major. I'll pass you on to Captain Wingarden, but frankly, I don't think it'll get you any further. The controller's office is rather like the kingdom of heaven, and if anything, a little more exclusive.
But you are no longer living in a decadent democracy, ruled by a pack of wrangling intellectuals. This is the Third Reich, and the Führer does not tolerate stupid, insolent obstinacy. You have been asked to work for Germany, Herr Bomash, and you will.
Can't you leave him alone? You've bullied and shouted at him ever since we got here. He's had no sleep.
Mr. Green.
Can I have another word with them, sir?
Yes, you please. Anna, it's useless for your father to resist like this. You must persuade him. You will both be given reasonable freedom.
Freedom here?
In time, you will see things the way I do, the way everyone in Germany does.
I'm not a German.
Germany is as much your country as it is ours now. We don't hate the Czechs. We only wish to protect them.
As you're protecting the people of Poland?
You've been too long in Britain listening to their smug hypocrisy.
If I listened to hypocrisy in Britain, it was not from the British.
I was doing my duty. As a citizen of the Reich and a subject of the Führer, for whose sacred mission no sacrifice is too great.
That sounds rather like something you learned from a book. For years you've had this sort of thing drilled into you until it's all you know or care about. You're a fanatic with a set of stupid, fixed ideas. If you hadn't made me hate you more than I thought I could possibly hate anybody, I think I should feel sorry for you.
You have expressed yourself very clearly, Fräulein Bomash. You will be placed in a concentration camp until your father comes to his senses.
Must you drag my daughter into this?
I press with you, Herr Bomash. Hello? What, here? Very good. Admiral Hassinger is on his way up.
The Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Count Hassinger.
Come in, my dear fellow, come in. Strasser, let me present Major Herzog of the Corps of Engineers. I expect you have heard of him. The man behind the Siegfried line. Herzog?
Only one of the men, sir. The Führer is responsible for the lines. He is responsible for everything.
Well, what progress?
You remember me, Herr Bomash? I did not expect to see you again here. And you, Fräulein Bomash, I see you have not forgotten me. It must be 4 years.
Major Herzog is preparing a highly confidential report on armor plating. He has been on several missions to Prague. He met Bomash there.
Just one moment. Marston, conduct Herr Bomash and his daughter into the next room.
Mr. Bomash?
Maybe we shall meet again later.
I thought it unwise to speak in front of Bomash. So far, we've made no impression on him.
I do not agree. He looks 10 years older.
My orders are to obtain quick results.
As a race, we are rather inclined to believe that the knuckle duster is the best diplomatic weapon.
Do I understand that you question?
I question nothing. I am an army officer.
Personally, I do not follow any of this at all.
Bomash is not the man to be bullied into cooperation, sir.
Well, what do you suggest?
I knew Fräulein Bomash in Prague. She has a great influence with her father and is the one person who can make him change his mind.
Oh, Marston, he has tried that, but she refused to listen. He is largely responsible for tracing Bomash in England, completely outwitting the British military intelligence.
So, may I express a soldier's admiration for one who can carry out his mission under the very eyes of the enemy's secret service.
Thank you, sir.
But if I may say so, I hardly think the captain is a suitable person to influence the lady.
And who do you think would be more suitable?
Why, myself, for instance.
You?
Why not?
Herzog was very friendly with her in Prague, you know.
A little more than friendly. You saw the way she looked at me when I came in.
Oh, yes, of course. Seems to me you are a bit of a dog, Herzog.
A technician, Admiral. One does not talk about these things, but I think if I were to spend a few hours alone with her, I might induce her to reason with her father.
Oh. What do you think about that, Strasser?
I cannot promise, mind you. 4 years is a long time.
It seems to me it is worth attempting. After all, the business is urgent, Strasser.
It is indeed, sir.
You really believe that you could influence a girl in a matter of hours?
Shall we say overnight?
I see.
Knowing Fräulein Bomash, sir, I doubt whether even his qualities will make any impression on her.
You're not acquainted with my qualities.
Strasser, we'll let him try it. No harm done if he doesn't succeed. Leave all the arrangements to me. This requires a knowledge of maneuvers. Come along, Herzog.
You may be right, my dear. Bennett may be trying to help us. But why they brought us to this hotel, providing you with clothes? Doesn't make sense to me.
Well, Bennett's behind it, obviously. He's organized the whole thing.
How?
Well, how did he manage to get into the German Admiralty as a Nazi officer?
But I don't see how he can get us away from here.
Oh, Father, don't worry about it. Perhaps you'd better go to bed now, eh? We'll find out what it's all about in the morning.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, my dear.
Come in.
Fräulein Bomash.
Yes. Thank you.
You are expecting me, Major Herzog.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Your room is number 18. Your bags have been taken up.
My flowers arrived?
Yes, sir. The lady has them.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, sir.
My darling, you look as charming as ever. Those same sweet lips, like warm carnations. Those sweet, mysterious eyes, darker and softer than the bluest dusk of August violets. As the poet has it, and I hope he was Aryan. No one under the bed, I trust. Or bring me a bottle of Krug 28. That will be excellent.
What's happening?
Well, you may have gathered that we were partners in a highly romantic interlude in Prague 4 years ago. By the way, did you like the flowers?
Does that matter?
Well, it cost me 12 coupons.
Well, go on.
Well, tomorrow morning I'm going to phone the Admiral and say that your father is now prepared to work for Germany.
What?
I should say that I persuaded you to reason with him. They're bound to ask him to take you both along. The Gestapo man downstairs let us pass, and then
Yes,
instead
but how do you know they will?
Well, they're listening to the phone. They always do. Oh. Then instead of driving to the Admiralty, we shall go to a meadow outside Berlin where a plane is waiting.
I see. But why should the Admiralty believe you've persuaded me?
I shall indicate that once again you have succumbed to my charms.
Once again?
It happened in Prague, I'm afraid.
And you told them a fantastic story like that?
Fantastic? Well, it was 4 years ago. There was a harvest moon, and I was younger and more dashing then.
But you really mean all this? It sounds far too simple.
I have a very simple mind. But there is one small complication. I shall have to spend the night here. In a purely professional spirit, of course.
That is necessary.
Well, it sort of fits into the picture. That place is absolutely appalling with Gestapo. Have you any sporting instinct?
Why?
Well, I'll toss you who sleeps on the couch.
But you're treating all this as if it was some sort of joke. You don't seem to realize how much depends upon it.
Well, there's no good being intense about it. You don't think I like the idea of a firing squad, do you?
What?
England may be at war with Germany tomorrow.
I see. But, and don't you think I ought to tell my father about all this?
No.
Why not?
Well, it hardly looked right for a lovesick girl to go popping back to her dad. That'll get the waiter. If you can pretend that you find me almost unbearably attractive, so much the better.
All right, I'll try.
Thank you. My little Anna.
Is it, raining?
No, miss.
Is anything the matter?
That tune you are whistling, sir, it is an English tune, isn't it?
How do you know?
I heard it on the radio from London last night.
Are you not aware that listening to the foreign broadcast is forbidden, that there is a strict penalty?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
I will not report you on this occasion, but see that you are more discreet in future. Get out. Very awkward.
Lucky it wasn't Rule Britannia.
Handled it rather neatly, I thought.
You know, if a woman ever loved you like you love yourself, it would be one of the romances of history.
As I'm unlikely to think of an adequate reply to that, I think we ought to drink a toast. England expects that every Secret Service man this night shall do his duty. Flat.
They're ringing your room.
I'll take it here. It looks better. Hello? Is that call for me? It's German Admiralty. Yes, Herzog here. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry to disturb you at this hour, Herzog, but we have to alter our plans. We have just received instructions from headquarters in Munich. The Beaumarch is to go there at once by the first train.
But this is ridiculous, sir. Couldn't you delay it for a few hours?
Impossible. It is on the Führer's orders. The train leaves in an hour's time.
But, sir, what is the use of sending Herr Beaumarch to headquarters in his present frame of mind?
What do you suppose the Führer's frame of mind would be if we didn't? I'm sorry, Herzog.
What's happening?
They're sending you to Munich at once. There's only one chance.
What?
Leave the hotel. Scuttle, an old German custom.
But the guard's downstairs.
We got into the Admiralty, we get out of here. Get your clothes on, I'll tell your father we leave here in 5 minutes. I've been instructed to leave immediately with Herr Beaumarch. I shall not require you. Dismiss.
Shall I get you a taxi, sir?
I call one myself.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I'm here to escort Herr Beaumarch and Fräulein Beaumarch to Munich.
The controller phoned me 10 minutes ago. I was about to drive them to the Admiralty myself.
My orders are to take them straight to the station. The train leaves in 50 minutes.
Evidently a misunderstanding on my part. Very well, we are ready.
You, sir?
Certainly. Well, you're not told. I have the Admiral's authority to travel with them. He feels it essential that Herr Beaumarchais should be persuaded to comply with our wishes before he reaches headquarters. I was progressing extremely well with Fräulein Beaumarchais when this happened.
I see. Very good, sir.
Have you got a copy of this week's Punch?
Please?
Punch. English magazine. Very humorous. You must have a copy.
No.
She hasn't got a Punch, old man.
Hasn't she? Oh. Sold out, I suppose.
You will all leave here and find places elsewhere. This compartment is commandeered by the police. Come along, no delay, please.
They got La Vie Parisienne, boy.
La Vie Parisienne? Oh, all right, don't bother about a Punch.
Oh.
Everyone's hopped it.
Yeah, well, must have got in the wrong train, I expect.
We can have a side each to ourselves now. Put our feet up.
Bought a copy of Mein Kampf. Occurred to me it might shed a spot of light on all this how do you do. Never read it.
Never had the time.
I understand they give a copy to all the bridal couples over here.
Well, I don't think it's that sort of book, old man.
This is the compartment. Why are you still here?
Eh?
You must find other places at once.
We have first-class tickets, you know.
Outside, please. This compartment has been commandeered by the authorities.
That is beside the point.
Yes, we are British subjects.
Yes. Look here. We, Edward Frederick Lindley, Viscount Halifax, His Majesty's Principal Secretary of State, etc., request all whom it may concern to allow the bearer to pass without let or hindrance and to afford him or her...
Outside.
No good arguing, I suppose?
Apparently not. Waste of time, all this bilge in the passport.
Now, please.
Hopeless. We'll never get away now.
Think of something. Outside. Come along. Hurry.
Excuse me.
Now, don't forget that you're terribly attracted to me.
The two guards' compartment is in there, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Would you like to face the engine?
Whatever you like.
Did you notice that German officer who came into our compartment?
Yes, why?
Well, I could have sworn it was old Dickie Randall.
Dickie Randall?
Yes, we were at Balliol together. You must have heard me talking about him. He used to bowl slow leg breaks. Played for the gentleman once. Caught and bowled for a duck, I remember.
Oh, yes, Dickie Randall. But if he's a German officer, how can it be Dickie Randall?
Well, I knew him quite well. His rooms were next to mine.
Why on earth? You don't think he's working for the Nazis, like that fellow, what's his name?
Traitor? Hardly, old man. You played for the gentleman.
Only once.
It was last Easter. I was looking in a shop window in the Graben and I saw the reflection of a girl. For a moment, I thought it was you.
Were you by yourself?
Yes. Why?
I just wondered. It's a blackout.
You know what that means so far west as this?
England and France have declared war.
We have nothing to fear. The nation is behind the Führer.
Yes, but how far behind?
We're stopping.
Everybody out at once, please.
Everybody out on the platform. Everybody out of the compartment, please. Everybody out at once, please.
Why are we stopping here?
I don't know yet, I just had the order. Everybody out, please. Everybody out. Everybody out.
How far away from Munich?
About an hour's journey.
All passengers off the train. All passengers off the train, please.
What's happening?
Everybody, Heil Hitler. This train is required for troops. There will be only a small amount of room available for passengers.
My party must have the same accommodation.
Oh, yes. The train leaves again in 20 minutes. May I have your carriage number, please, sir?
Yes, it's 0735.
0735.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Aren't you old Dickie Randall?
Major Herzog, Corps of Engineers.
Oh, I'm frightfully sorry. It's very silly of me, but it's an amazing likeness.
Yes, you'd better come along on then.
Extraordinary. English, I presume.
Apparently.
A very peculiar race.
We have a small waiting room, sir. Perhaps you would prefer to wait in there.
Thank you.
This way, please. Please, please, this way. Everybody off the train there, please. Everybody off the train.
You know, you made me feel painfully embarrassed, Collicutt.
Well, I can't help it if old Dickie Randall has a double.
You must realize that we're traveling in very difficult times.
What's the matter?
I can't help thinking of your face when he said Major Herzog, Corps of Engineers.
Well, all I can say, Charters, is that when it comes to humor, we live in entirely different worlds.
This waiting room is required. Every passenger must wait outside. Come on, and you too, please. Come on, so quick like possible.
This is getting beyond the joke.
You can't stand for this.
Come on, please, out. Everybody out so quick as possible. Everybody must wait outside. All passengers must wait outside. So.
No good being undignified, old man.
No, quite right.
Come on, please, 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 please. Come on, come on, come on. So, please, please.
Oh, Major. May I phone Munich and notify them of our delay?
Of course.
My absence may provide the opportunity for Fräulein Bomasch to approach her father.
It might help.
You seem to have made a considerable impression on the lady, Major. I apologize for doubting your capabilities.
Stay on guard here. See that no one enters or leaves. Understand? No one.
That man who spoke to you, did you know him?
Yes, I did. A fellow called Caldicott. It's probably the first time he's ever left England before the end of the cricket season. Just my luck, he gave me a very nasty moment.
No one would have guessed it.
I was a member of the Foreign Office Operatic Society. You know, I once played pool bar at the Foreign Secretary's cocoa.
Have you thought of any way of getting us out of this?
I have. A car will be waiting at Munich to take us to headquarters. We'll be quite a crowd, and I shall ask for a second car so that we can be alone.
Suppose they don't give it to us.
They will, because by that time we shall be on the verge of persuading your father to work for Germany.
But you, on the other hand, must be asking for time to think. You get the idea.
Yes, but...
Then we only have the chauffeur to deal with, and after that, Switzerland.
Switzerland?
Well, you can hardly break through the Siegfried line.
But Switzerland's a long way from Munich.
If we can bluff them into giving us that car, we'll make it. So from now on, Mr. Burmash, you've got to make up your mind whether to keep your armor plating or let it go rusty. Is that quite clear?
I think so.
And you're still so crazy about me that you'll sell the armor plating for a very small lock of my hair.
You can't sit here.
Why not?
This truck is required. Come on. Off, 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 off.
I suppose these bags aren't required too.
Off, 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 off.
Pushed about from pillar to post by this railway ever since we got on the train.
Yeah, everything we sit on seems to be required.
It's monstrous.
We shall write to the company about this. We're not at war with England yet, you know.
But you are mistaken. France declared war this afternoon, and England declared war this morning. So.
Whoa. Yes. Good heavens.
What's the matter?
My golf clubs.
Where are they?
I lent them to Max in Berlin. Like a fool, I said he needn't bring them back till next Wednesday. Probably seen the last of them.
Yes. I expect they'll require them for something or other. I read in the paper that they're putting up the park railings.
Well, I don't see the connection, old man.
Well, your clubs are steel, aren't they?
Yes.
Well, there you are, then.
Whip shafts, too. Specially made for me.
Why not get in touch with Max?
How?
On the telephone. Ask him to send them to London immediately.
It's a desperate chance, but it's worth taking. I shall never be able to replace them.
Oh, telephone?
Station master's office.
Captain Strasser, Marcel here. I'm speaking from Kurt Baden.
Oh, beg your pardon?
Concerns Major Herzog, sir. I think a full inquiry should be made at once in view of something which happened a few minutes ago.
A few minutes ago? You mean he's with you?
Admiral Hassinger gave him the authority.
Hassinger did? You never told me.
It's very suspicious.
Yes, but the Admiral himself introduced him. I'll ask him. I'll phone you back. What is your number there? Yes, in a few minutes. Admiral Hassinger, please.
Hello. I want a long-distance call to Berlin. Oliver 2466. What? Yes. Yes, of course it's important.
It's all in German.
What? Well, how long then? Oh, all right. Blasted junction's engaged by the military. They'll call me back.
These people seem to have no idea of business as usual.
If I were asked to give a snap judgment, I should say that was an S.
More like an F.
I do not know, sir. I used to know someone who made his S's like that.
Someone in the War Office?
Well, no.
Oh, we can't afford to waste time. You didn't give him permission to travel with the prisoners, did you, sir?
No. But he may have assumed it. If you remember, we more or less gave him carte blanche.
The only thing is to check up with the War Office, huh?
I suppose so.
War Office?
If he's right, this will be very serious for you, Kampfeld.
Very serious indeed.
The letter was addressed to you. There's no denying that, Kampfeld.
Quite right. I'm afraid I shall have to sack my secretary.
Hello?
That'll be our call.
Colonel Impins. I bet it's my call.
Marston speaking. Yes, sir.
Listen, Marston, you were right. We have been completely fooled. Hartsoff is not known at the War Office. There is no officer of that name on the Army list.
Then, yes, sir, obviously. An enemy agent.
I say, Charters, there's another phone in there.
Oh, lucky. Hello? 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 Gone dead. Hello?
Why not try the thingamate? You know, the gadget.
Hello? It's the extension. That chap out there.
Well, perhaps he'll be off the line in a minute. What's up?
They're talking about, what's his name? You know, Herzog.
No, he doesn't suspect. Yes, sir. I see.
All passengers aboard, please.
No time to send here now, sir. The train is leaving.
What? Listen, we can't afford to take risks. Carry on with Hartsoff to Munich. Let him think he's getting away with it, understand? I'll get on to Army headquarters there.
Very good, sir.
All passengers aboard, please. Everybody on the train.
What is it?
All
Well, as far as I can make out, Herzog isn't Herzog.
What?
No, they're sending an escort to arrest him when we get to Munich.
Herzog?
Yes.
What? Listen, if Herzog isn't Herzog...
What?
Well, he must be Dickie Randall.
Yes.
Everybody on the train. All passengers aboard, please. All passengers on the last 2 coaches only. All passengers aboard. All passengers aboard.
After you, Major.
All passengers on the last 2 coaches only. All passengers on the last 2 coaches. All passengers aboard. All passengers on the last 2 coaches only. All passengers on the last 2 coaches. All passengers aboard.
Keep within call. I shall need you at Munich, perhaps before.
One thing emerges very clearly from all this.
Colligan!
The train!
Yes! Oh, my bad.
That was a near thing.
I thought we were going to be in this infernal country for the duration.
Oh, my Lord. Don't anticipate, old man.
What were you saying just now about something emerging very clearly?
I said? When?
On the platform.
About something emerging? What was it?
What was what?
What emerged? You never said.
Oh.
We do not wish to persuade you to become a National Socialist, Herr Bomisch. I have explained that to your daughter, have I not?
And you may work wherever you choose, Father. Isn't that so?
Quite.
After all, we should have our freedom.
I know, my dear, but freedom is strangely interpreted in this country.
I do not agree with you, Herr Bomisch. Freedom in Germany is a great advance on freedom elsewhere. It's properly organized and controlled by the state.
I'd much rather we kept politics out of it.
Herr Bomisch, unfortunately, refuses to understand the sacred importance of the Nazi world mission.
You stay in England, perhaps.
No doubt, a corrupt influence.
Corrupt country.
Controlled by international Freemasons and the Jew, Churchill. But since you wish it, Herr Beaumarchais, we will drop politics and discuss it from a more personal basis.
I'm certain, Charters, that what you were about to say was that we stumbled on something pretty serious.
There's no doubt which side Randall's playing for.
Ours?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what was emerging so clearly.
Well, it's up to us to find some way of warning him.
Yes, come on, let's find it.
I say, Colligan.
Yes?
I think we're wise rushing into this.
How do you mean?
Well, I mean, we've no proof that Randall's working for England.
Well, everything points to it.
Yes, but is that enough? We're enemy aliens. And these Nazis are pretty free with their firing party.
Well, ought we to let that stand in our way?
Well, certainly not. I mean, if we were certain. As it is, we've just got to bear it in mind.
I don't see what else he can be doing.
For all we know, he may be an international crook.
Crooks don't generally play for the gentleman.
Well, Raffles did.
That's fiction. Still, you may be right, Charters.
Of course, if we were certain, we'd do our duty and take the risk.
Yes, of course.
As it is, I can get on with Mein Kampf. I haven't got out of Hitler's boyhood yet.
And, Herr Beaumarchais, what is even more important, your daughter will be able to live with you or wherever she pleases.
You must give me time to think.
Certainly.
We should be in Munich in 40 minutes.
Indeed. For the first time, I will be sorry when the journey's over.
Yes, I can believe that. I think we should order something to eat.
An excellent idea.
Just in case we do not find headquarters in a very hospitable frame of mind.
Please. Oh, sorry.
You don't choose to stand up when a German officer passes?
See, we're English.
Your passports. Oh, beg your pardon. You're quite right. The English should not stand up. They should go down on their fat bellies and crawl.
Now, look here.
So you are standing up. Very well. We shall generously permit you to run back to England. No doubt to find yourselves safe jobs. Meanwhile, you may sit down.
Fat bellies.
Safe jobs.
As if they weren't all taken by now anyway.
Colligan, this is absolutely and finally the last straw.
Yes, Charters.
We'll warn Dickie Randall at once, come what may.
I'm with you, old man. It's things like that that bring it home to you.
Sandwiches, biscuits. Yes, sir. Will you take tea substitute or coffee substitute?
Tea for me, please.
Right.
He's in there. That Gestapo fellow's there, too.
There's a couple of stormtroopers in there.
How the devil are we going to pass him with a word without that fellow spotting it?
We've got to do it somehow.
Yes. Of course, he might come out for a minute. I mean, most people do.
We must act, Charters. It's no good hanging about on the off chance.
Excuse me.
Wait a minute. That steward.
What about him?
Well, he's bound to come back sometime to bring that order.
By Jove, yes. Here he comes.
Excuse, please.
What time do we get to Munich?
In about 30 minutes, sir.
Thank you. All right?
Yes, I put it underneath the donut.
Good. What? Well, how do you know that for him?
Well, I suddenly remembered that Dickie Randall always had donuts sent up to his room for afternoon tea.
That's very clever of you, old man.
We'd better get along there, eh?
Right.
Oh, my law.
Well, what's up?
Well, I'm wondering if it was donuts. I believe it was rock cakes.
Have you made all arrangements to transport at Munich, Marsden?
Every arrangement, sir.
Will there be more than one car?
Almost certainly two.
Let's see, that will make 7 rather a crowd. I think in order to finish my talk with Herr Bomash, you had better take the second car.
Very good, sir.
I believe Herr Bomash is really beginning to see that I am doing my best to help him.
I'm sure he knows, sir.
Yes, yes, Major. Your attitude has been most reasonable.
You must remember it's only a few hours since Father was taken out of England by force.
Captain Marston was only obeying orders. Members of the Gestapo are frequently asked to perform duties which others find too objectionable.
Some are objectionable. Others I find extremely satisfying.
I often envy you your opportunities. What is that? The bill? I will pay.
No, please, I am escorting the party.
My dear Marsden, it's my privilege. In fact, it is an order. Terrible. The way prices have gone up already. Excuse me.
Yes, I'm Randall. How are you, old man? You remember me? Yes. This is Charters, an old friend of mine.
How do you do? Well, what is it?
Look here. We don't know what you're up to, of course.
Never mind about that.
But whatever it is, you appear to be on the spot. Tell him about it, Charters.
Well, I was phoning Berlin about my golf clubs. By the way, I'm resigned to the fact I shall never see them again, Cordy.
Yes, well, get on with it.
Well, I was just coming to that. I was telephoning. I got on the other chap's line, you know, that Gestapo fella. I overheard him saying they were sending a military escort to arrest you when you get to Munich.
You see, you're rumbled. They know you're not Herzog.
Now, listen. I can't tell you everything. There isn't time. But I've got to get that old man and the girl out of this country at all costs.
What? An official job?
Are you two fellows game to help me?
What, against Germany?
I'll say we are, after all they've done to us. What do you say, colleagues?
Absolutely, old man. Backs to the wall.
I hope not. Easy. You'll give me a little more room to think.
Is there any tea left?
Yes, I think so, Ulrich.
There's no time for tea. We reach Munich in a few minutes.
Oh, time for just one cup. Cake, darling?
No, thank you.
I'm afraid I must ask you to drop this little comedy. It is very entertaining, but I have certain formalities to attend to.
Comedy? What do you mean?
Oh, thank you.
You're merely pretending to be infatuated with this man. There's no such person as Major Herzog. He's a British agent trying to get you and your father out of Germany.
You must be crazy. Ulrich.
I don't propose to waste the time of the Gestapo denying it.
Thank you.
You're going to give yourself up?
Well, they have lots of proof, Mr. Bomash.
An escort will be waiting at Munich to take you in charge.
You can't do this.
He's an enemy agent.
Weren't you? Didn't you do exactly the same as he's doing?
With a slight but important difference. I wasn't caught.
Are you just going to sit there and do nothing?
Now, please, don't make a scene.
Don't you realize what this means?
Yes, I do. That he has a gun and I haven't, and he's got a couple of reserves next door. Who'd you take before, Bulldog Drummond?
Oh, can't you be serious even now? I told you this would happen. I told you your scheme was absolutely childish, but you wouldn't listen to me. Why didn't you stay in England instead of coming over here and deliberately throwing your life away, you fool?
We have no time to listen to this ridiculous display.
Ryder! Ryman!
Let our dogs fly on! Forward!
If there is more than one major on the train, how are we to know which one to arrest?
Our man's got a Gestapo officer watching him.
Who has not these days?
Thanks.
Hi, little up.
A little. Marsden. I'm under instruction from 5th Army headquarters to arrest Major Herzog.
I fear you will need a stretcher. The prisoner tried to escape, and I had to deal with him. You will find him in the last compartment, coach 66. What transport have you?
2 cars.
Excellent. Now, this is Herr Axel Bolmash from Haska and his daughter. They are in protective custody, and I have instructions to take them to General von Kampwitz without delay. With your permission, I will use one of the cars.
Certainly.
I will leave you to take charge of the prisoner. Will you show me my car?
Order. Take the SS officer to the car. Coach 66, you said?
The last compartment. Full length on the seat.
Sergeant. Get a stretcher from the station master and follow me.
Olson, you will take the SS officer and his party in your car.
One moment. Is your chauffeur to be trusted?
I think so. He is a very old member of the party.
Anti-Russian, perhaps. I think I better take one of my own men. I'm traveling to the place of the greatest secrecy.
Very good. You will not be needed, Olson.
Very good, sir. Rumpelmeyer, you will drive.
Heil Hitler.
Heil Hitler.
Heil Hitler.
Heil Hitler.
Come on, quick. Right, man, right. You're not in England. Good.
Not much of a life, a secret agent.
And your pay is bad, too, sir.
I was just thinking, Charters, in the last war, the army took over Lord's cricket ground for drilling troops on.
What if they'll do it this time?
Short-sighted, you know.
Better pull up here, Charters. You can't get to Switzerland by any of the main roads. Let me take over, will you?
Age around 22. Height 5'4". Slim figure. Dark brown eyes. That's a lot. Phone these descriptions to all stations within a 100-mile radius.
The report has just come in, sir, that the car has left the city by the South Road.
So they're making for Switzerland. Please take the road.
Very good.
There's one thing that's worrying me, Randall, old man. Maybe silly of me, of course, but how exactly are we going to get across the Swiss frontier?
I know a little place where I used to go climbing about 8,000 feet up where Switzerland and Germany meet.
You're not going to ask us to hang about on ropes, I hope?
I'm not, but they may. There's a narrow road leads right to the top.
What's over the top?
Switzerland.
Anything in between?
6,000 feet drop.
Well, and how can we,
skip it.
Skip it?
There's a car following us.
Is there? Well, here we go.
Don't let them get away!
I'll do them! I'll do them! I'll have to change the wheel.
Watch the road, Charters. Hello. Anybody here? Walker. Anybody around?
Switzerland.
Joe,
Good
your
morning
computer
to you,
is
sir.
running out
Good
of
morning.
battery.
Have
to
plug in your computer. Yes, that's
or
only
is
me.
it going to stop running?
I want to cross to Switzerland.
Now, sir?
Yes, now.
But we're at war. I had orders yesterday to close the telepheric.
My orders come from a higher source.
Higher than the chief of police at Maxburg?
Gestapo headquarters at Munich.
Oh.
I have been instructed to show this lady and gentleman safely out of Germany.
I better ring Christopher. Yes, right away.
It's a car coming. Looks like them.
5 of them altogether.
Keep an eye on them.
How are the goats, Christopher? Yes, thank you, Christopher. I got it. And the butter.
Do you want to be dismissed for incompetence?
They'll be leaving in about 2 minutes, Christopher. I shall require to see your papers. Have you got your passports?
How long does this take to cross the valley?
About 4 minutes.
Once it's in midair, can it be stopped?
Why, yes, sir. If anyone wanted to stop it. Will you follow me to the office? This way, please.
Can you see them?
No, but I can hear the engine.
How does this thing work?
That shouldn't be difficult.
Well, how?
Yes, obviously. This starts it.
Yes?
Yes, this is the speed regulator.
Speed regulator, right. Get in quick, all of you. Quick, call it.
What about you?
I'll start it and then jump on. They're here. Come on, jump in.
They'll stop us halfway across.
Get in, will you?
Quickly!
Cease fire. I'll get in over the roof. Right. Come here and stop the machinery! Come back!
Yeah. Yeah.
Nancy, I think if you were able to do it, you could be able to do it. But what you're saying is, even if you were able to do it, you wouldn't.
Yeah, it's the height issue. I'm afraid of heights. Are you afraid of heights? Especially heights like those heights.
Yeah, it was quite detrimental to my skateboarding, to be honest. Big ramp skating was
Well, I thought that was a fun little film, and as fun, I think, as The Lady Vanishes.
Well, I agree. I think this is a better film.
Yes, I agree. Although, they're pretty major jumps in, how we get one from one place to another place. But
Oh, details, details.
well, it's like a Bond film, you just jumping
No,
all
it
over,
is.
the world.
So who's in charge of scheduling here? Because the
Yeah, but at least
schedules
somebody went to the bed.
schedule said it was going to start at 7.
Oh, my fault. It was my fault. I didn't watch the schedule.
Oh. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter, right?
Well, the link is there if you want to watch the beginning of it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of goose stepping at the front end anyway.
Yeah. It was an escape movie.
This. I don't like those Nazis.
So was that Rex Harrison?
Yes.
Who was the actress?
Margaret Lockwood? Is that right?
We just had it up. Yes, Margaret Lockwood, Paul Henreid as the bad guy, Rex Harrison as Dickie, Norton Wayne as Caldecott, and Basil Rathbone as Charters.
So now he said he thought that was Dickie. So how did he know? Did he know what he looked like? And then when the other guy walks in, why did he not realize?
It's because Collison went to Oxford. They were at Balliol together.
They knew each other from school, from university.
From uni, yes, indeed.
So he knew Dickie, right?
Right.
And Dickie in uniform as the Nazi didn't indicate that he was like,
yeah, but then when they were in the bathroom, and then Paul Henreid goes in there.
No.
What?
Wait,
no.
what?
That was Rex Harrison.
That was Rex Harrison. I know they do kind of look alike, and I got a few confused a couple of times.
Oh, I don't know. Okay.
One's dressed as a Gestapo. The other one is a member of the Wehrmacht.
Okay, so he went in there, and they collude as to, and they get the uniforms, etc. Okay, whatever. Doesn't matter.
It's not clear how they overtook the two guards, though. They just
no
showed up in their outfits. Like there could have been I was waiting for like a Wizard of Oz moment where they get clobbered and all the clothes go up in the air and they come out of the.
So
I throw the tea in the guy's face, burn his face.
Well, that might have caused a bit of a stir.
A little bit.
So the right guy got the donut. I thought the wrong guy got the donut and the note.
Right.
But I bet it was the right guy.
The right guy
got the note.
Okay.
That was the big suspense. The donut suspense moment was the scone of suspense.
I don't remember donuts in England.
Thought they were pronounced scones.
Whatever. So Norton Wayne, what else has he done? It's not cricket.
Those two guys, they were always together in movies, weren't they?
So did they actually have a live like vaudeville comedy thing? Was that what they did?
Maybe.
They were a comedy duo?
I don't know. The only time I've ever seen them before was in The Lady Vanished.
Let's see what it says about Norton Wayne. He was in He did Naughton Wayne, was it Arsenic and Old Lace for years.
Whoa.
No, I guess not.
Did he play Teddy Roosevelt?
You know, he did sort of look like a little like him.
In many ways, they were much more forgiving back then. I can't imagine being that relaxed with if England declares war, France declares war, there wouldn't be some, you know.
I thought that was a nice filmmaking touch when they showed the guard, you know, when they were tied up, he had Mein Kampf wrapped,
wrapped to his face.
Oh, I missed that.
That was good, yeah.
Mein Kampf in where?
You had to keep rereading that same page, though.
He wrapped Mein Kampf around the guy's face to keep him quiet. Yes, definitely some propaganda. But it was rather needed back then.
I can't picture Trump or J.D. Vance writing my struggle. I guess is Hillbilly Elegy J.D. Vance's Mein Kampf?
Yeah, they should retitle it. My Hillbilly Struggle.
Yes. Well, it was fun.
Yeah, I couldn't get the Nazi spy one with Edward G. Robinson. I'm gonna try and figure out how I can get a copy of it or get to watch that. I'd like to watch it. That one has even more propaganda in it.
We love propaganda. Did you know that a Reagan appointed judge ruled that Trump's birthright citizenship executive order is blatantly unconstitutional?
There we go.
Which order?
His he wants to end birthright citizenship.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
It sounds like the Edward G. Robinson movie would pair well with All Through the Night.
Yes. Yeah.
Humphrey Bogart fighting the Nazis.
Yes, it would. So the other one that I was thinking of showing is what is it? The House on 92nd Street, which also is lots of FBI Nazi stuff.
Yeah, that's got a tragic ending.
Indeed.
That Edward G. Robinson?
What about the one with Joseph Cotton and Edward G. Robinson?
Oh, the clock? Or the tower?
Yeah.
The Stranger.
Wells.
Yeah, the Stranger.
Yeah.